Good evening, everyone. Brendan from Starpoint Australis here with your Tuesday, the week, month that was update. I know I haven't been spinning out a weekly update at the moment. We've just been really busy from changing manufacturers to changing logistics business partners over in the States. It's all been happening. So what else has been going on? Well, I kind of alluded to it in our last update where the story of the color filter wheel I was going to take you through, and it's actually been a trip down memory lane for myself. And you know, I look at these things and think to myself how great I was doing back then. I look at it now and I go, ooh, that's a little bit awkward. But hey, we all have to learn from somewhere, and this was my learning journey. I haven't gone to uni to do this. This is a self-taught thing. And you know, a little bit of inherent skill. Like I can't just say that I've just picked it up as is. There's been a lot of frustration, and Jess, I'm very sorry for all those nights where my brain is off in a different dimension. But you know, we're getting there, and I think for anyone who wants to learn, I think learning it has to be the biggest thing that we ever do. You know, we learn in life from day to day, from other people, from tasks, things that we do. But this is my journey of learning, which is the color filter wheel. So I wanted to take you through and have a bit of a chat about some of the design choices that I did. And I'll start with the first one. Why the hell did I use Perspex? Look, at the time, the reason why I used Perspex is that I had pretty much basic hand tools, and when I say basic hand tools, I had, I think, a little circular saw, you know, the one from, you know, for the US people, Home Depot style, or over here Bunnings or Zito. I had some screwdrivers and a couple of hammers, you know, some rulers, and that was about it. And here I was trying to figure out and build something that really shouldn't be built. Oh, sorry, I had a jigsaw as well. That's how I did most of the Perspex work. So I used Perspex because it's a soft, easy to manufacture material, and I was still pretty poor back when I made this. And when I say poor, I mean poor. And I had stumbled across a quarter sheet of broken Perspex, so that's what I made it out of. So then moving on from there, Arduino. Now Arduino gave me one of my first lessons in blocking code. And when I say blocking code, it's that code where you can't offset it to a different core, and nor did I have the skill back then on how to drop it in and out of the code and refresh on cycles. So I was using the Arduino because it was easy to get, easy to use, and it used the Arduino IDE, which is what I learnt my coding on. Now, I still remember, and this always makes me chuckle. I was coming home on the train one night, and my brain was ticking along as it always does. And I kind of came up with the math, I guess, and I thought it was pretty cutting edge back then. Nowadays, I look at it and have a chuckle, but the math of the actual filter positions to ensure that I could bring it out. Now, sure, there's a million and one ways to kill the cat, but I was sitting there on the train with my little red pen, markup pen, because I was doing professional engineering back then, and I should say civil structural engineering, not coding. But I was sitting there, I had my trusty red pen, and I had no paper on me, but I had an old receipt. So I was sitting there on the train, bouncing on home, and I was doing all the math on the back of a receipt, and I wish I kept it because it kind of made me chuckle. So yeah, I went from there with the Arduino, and I had some code that worked. You know, you saw some of the basic devices that we had there. So that was the 8825 driver, and that was really good compared to the other options. It wasn't great, but it worked. It was a bit chunky and bouncy, but yeah, we got through it. I then started getting pretty good with the whole driver working together scenario, and you know, I started finding magnets and stuff like that with magnetic hall sensors to do my positioning. Now, I always knew that the magnetic hall sensors, they were okay, but it was always a case of plus or minus. They would kind of work here, kind of work there, and the accuracy that you need for a color filter wheel is a lot tighter than over here or over there, you know, like 10, 15 steps either way kind of business. So I kind of used that for a little while, but it never brought me that joy that I was looking for in terms of accuracy. So Perspex V2. Now this V2, and I will say it out, that it was a thought that I could use it for cutting off of a laser. Now I had a friend, Colin Southern, that shout out to him. He's a pretty good bloke that I still know and catch up with. I only saw him on the weekend. But Colin has a laser cutter, a little laser cutter. So I thought, right, this is my first venture into actually getting some accuracy. It can be cut with Perspex, like the laser will cut Perspex, so let's go. And that built up to the blue 9, or I should say 10 position color filter wheel. The thing was massive. I don't even know. Oh, here's one I have earlier. And I still have it today because I keep everything and I get angry. I get in trouble all the time. But here's the old blue girl. It was easy for me to fiddle with. It didn't work really great, but it was great so that I could start learning how to actually do the coding, like code it so that I had something to say, yes, it is actually right. You can see that, and you won't see this in the videos, but this was me understanding that I'd made a massive error with Perspex, because Perspex is definitely not strong enough. So I went from that and laying it all out. And, you know, back in the day, I was still using like AutoCAD. And AutoCAD definitely is not a 3D design software outright. And I know that now. And I use a lot better equipment to do it. So then I actually had some working firmware that I could send codes down the command lines and get it to move to where I needed to. But at this stage, I actually knew nobody that could do driver integration for ASCOM and whatnot. So I jumped on trusty old, what did I use? I think it was like Fiverr or something like that, where you can do like little jobs and whatnot. And I actually paid someone to assist me building a driver interface. It was clunky, but it worked. It didn't have anything special in it. It was literally just bare bones. So where did I go from there? Well, I knew that the Perspex was not up to scratch. It flexed way too much. And I was sitting there going, oh, I can't do this. Especially at the time I was using a 10-inch f4.7 Newtonian. Now, f4.7 is not slow, but it is not fast by any means of today. And I thought to myself, I'm never ever going to keep the field flat if I go this way. So in steps Mr. Craig. Now, Mr. Craig is a long-term friend of mine, and I am forever in his debt and grateful. For all of you that were over at NEAF last year, so that was 2025, you would have met Craig, and he came over to assist me whilst Jess was going through treatment. But Mr. Craig and I, we worked together outside of Starpoint. We worked together, and we came up with this harebrained idea after Craig said, oh, I want to get a lathe. And I'm thinking to myself, a lathe? That sounds absolutely fantastic. And it quickly spiraled out of control. When I say spiraled out of control, is one day Craig rang me up and said, oh, I'm going to go get this little lathe. It's from an estate, and we're going to drive out and probably be about an hour southeast of Perth and go and get this lathe. So we went out there, we made it in time. There was a guy right behind us that was really upset about it, that we got in there before he did, and we dragged this lathe home. Now, the lathe was okay. It was an oldie, but a goodie. But this is where it spiraled out of control, because Craig goes, nah, this lathe isn't for me, it's not good enough. And next minute, he went and bought himself a bigger lathe. Well, it went from the bigger lathe, next minute there was a mill. And this is where I kind of went, well, am I able to borrow or use some of your equipment? And Craig was like, yeah, go for it. And that's where you saw the first iteration, and this is why it was all hand machining, the first iteration of the metal case, and that's the USS Enterprise. Now, that guy is over here. There's still a few things in there. I'll flick that over there. It's been butchered and pulled out and stripped out, but that's this one here. Now, you can still see in there, this is how dodgy it is. You can still see the same stuff that you saw on the video in the back. And the USS Enterprise was with me for a fair while until I got to the next step. So, hand machining, it was all good. I mean, I burnt my arms quite a lot because I can tell you now, chips are hot, and aluminium chips are hot when they're going on your hand, and you're trying, like, it's all manual mill, so I had a turn deck and I was sitting there moving it around, and you have to try and keep a bit of a constant momentum as you're pulling through it. You can't just sit there. So I got all that done, and at that stage you would have seen there was a bit of basic PCB tinkering that I was starting to get to, and that was the big board on the back. It was not quite that great, it was pretty rough, but before I'd made the actual carousel, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna at least try and get everything working. So I 3D printed a carousel because I'd nabbed myself a little Anycubic Chiron. The thing was always a nightmare, never worked properly, but I got some stuff out of it. And that's what you saw. Only last week the post came up about, you know, me moving around with SGP Pro and the filter wheel. So it was starting to move around, and it was pretty exciting times. I mean, I was cheering because I had something that could connect to the computer and could spin around a wheel. You know, I was pretty happy. And then only last week we put up me building the actual filter carousel. Now, this thing wasn't that fantastic, and I didn't have really good equipment or the right equipment to do the job. So you would have seen that there was some timber on there. That was me trying to hold the whole plate down because I couldn't hold it the way that I was, and I couldn't actually, at that stage, I couldn't drill down because I didn't have the right, or I couldn't drill through the plate and down into the top deck of the rotating table. So I had to put some stuff in there. It wasn't great, and I was realistically learning how to do machining. I'd done a little bit of machining in the past, but very, very little, and this was way above my pay grade at the time. But, you know, FAFO, that's what I say. Get in there, have a go, and see what you can do, because you'll learn so much whilst doing it. So that's pretty much where the build is at the moment that you're watching. And maybe next week or the week after, I'll do a little bit of a touch base and talk about a bit more of why I was doing things the way that I was. It's not the way that I do them now, but it definitely was how I got here. And I'm glad that I could share a little bit with you on that side of it. But for today, I think this is a long enough update, and I will have lost a lot of you by now, but thank you for all of you that have stayed on, and I look forward to giving you the next update about the filter wheel and how I went about it and my decisions and design decisions as I did it. But till next time, I'll talk to you soon.